The black ocean of space stretched endlessly, silent and calm. But tonight even the stars seemed afraid. They flickered like nervous eyes watching something terrible about to happen. Humanity's greatest ship, the Horizon, moved through the darkness, a symbol of strength and hope. It was the pride of Earth, a massive vessel carrying scientists, soldiers, and diplomats on a mission of peace. No one knew that before the next sunrise, peace would die. Captain Arik Vance stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the glowing stars ahead. He had seen many strange things in his life, but this silence was different. Space was never truly silent. There were signals, static, movement. Now there was nothing, just cold emptiness. It felt like the universe was holding its breath. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, her voice trembling slightly, "long-range sensors are detecting something." "It's not a ship, sir. It's just moving energy. No clear form." Vance frowned. "Put it on screen." The main display came alive with a swirl of bright blue light. It was massive, larger than a moon, twisting like a living storm. Then, for a moment, it looked back. Not literally, but everyone on the bridge felt it. A sense of being watched, like an eye behind the light. The crew went silent. "What is that?" Mara whispered. Vance didn't answer. No one could. Suddenly, the ship's systems flickered. Lights dimmed, alarms screamed. The artificial gravity faltered for a second. The blue storm had sent out a wave, invisible but deadly. "Shields down to 70%, yelled the engineer. "We're being scanned." "Scanned by what?" Vance shouted. No one had an answer. The storm pulsed again, brighter this time. It felt angry. Then came the first strike. A beam of white energy slammed into the horizon, tearing through the outer hull like paper. Fire erupted in one of the side sections. The entire ship shook violently, throwing officers to the floor. "Return fire," the captain ordered. But the weapons didn't lock on. There was nothing solid to target. The storm wasn't a ship. It was alive. Outside, the stars seemed to fade. It was as if the universe itself was watching the death of humanity's hope. The bridge filled with smoke and sparks. Men and women shouted commands, trying to keep the ship from breaking apart. "We're losing control, Captain," Mara cried. "If this keeps up, we'll—" "Not yet," Vance roared. "Divert all power to shields." "Get us out of here!" Engines screamed as the Horizon tried to move away, but the storm followed. It wrapped around the ship, like a serpent made of lightning. Then, for one terrible second, a voice echoed through the speakers. Not words, but sound that felt alive, ancient, and filled with hate. Every human on board felt it inside their minds. Images flashed, burning planets, screaming skies, a war older than human history. The crew felt small, like insects before something divine and furious. Then came silence. The storm vanished. For a moment, the horizon floated quietly. Systems began to stabilize and lights flickered back to life. But the relief didn't last. Half the ship was gone. "Hundreds were dead, Captain," Mara said softly. "What was that?" Vance stared at the empty space where the storm had been. "Something that should not exist," he said slowly. "Something that knows we're here." He turned toward the stars outside. They looked dimmer now, almost as if the light itself was afraid. He had seen battlefields, seen death, but never fear like this. Not from his crew, not even from himself. This was different. It was as if the universe had whispered a warning. The communication officer suddenly gasped. "Sir, incoming message from the Mars Command. Emergency broadcast, put it through." A holographic image appeared. The commander's face was pale, eyes wide with terror. "All deep space fleets report contact with unknown entities. Repeat, this is not a drill. They fired on our colonies." Entire stations gone. The room fell silent. The stars outside twinkled faintly, but they no longer felt beautiful. They looked like tombs, cold, distant, watching. Vance took a deep breath. "Send a message to all remaining ships," he said quietly. "Tell them humanity is under attack." And somewhere far beyond human reach, the blue storm moved again. The stars dimmed, trembling in fear, as if even they knew something terrible had awakened. The horizon drifted in the dark, half broken and silent. Its engines were dying, its crew wounded and scared. The battle had ended, but the fear remained, heavy like smoke in the air. The stars outside still trembled faintly, as if the universe itself mourned for what was lost. Captain Arik Vance stood beside the shattered viewing glass, watching pieces of the ship float away into the endless void. The silence was painful. He had seen war before, but this was something else. This enemy didn't fight for land or power. It fought like a force of nature, cold and merciless. "Status report," he said finally, his voice low. Lieutenant Mara Chen wiped the dust from her face and looked at the display. "We've lost 3 sections, sir. Over 400 crew are gone. Life support is running on backup. Communications are weak, but we still have a link to Mars Command, at least for now." The captain nodded slowly. "Send out a distress beacon. Include everything we recorded. They need to see what we saw." "Yes, sir." As Mara worked, the ship's lights flickered again. A deep hum rolled through the metal floors, like a whisper from deep space. The crew froze. "Was that an echo?" the engineer asked. Vance frowned. "Run a scan now." A few seconds later, the results appeared. There it was again. A signal, faint but steady, repeating in slow pulses. It wasn't random. It was a message. Mara's hands shook slightly as she decoded it. "It's not from our system, sir. It's coming from beyond Neptune." The signal. It's in a pattern similar to human language. The captain leaned closer. "Can you translate it?" She nodded nervously. "Trying." The computer beeped and a voice came through the speakers, cold, metallic, but filled with strange emotion. "We warned you. The void remembers. Leave the stars." The crew stared at each other in disbelief. The voice wasn't human, yet it spoke their language. "What does that mean?" one of the officers whispered. Before anyone could answer, the signal cut out. The room fell silent again, except for the quiet hum of the dying engines. Vance clenched his fists. "They're sending messages now. Whoever they are, they know us. They've been watching." "Captain," Mara said softly, "if they can speak to us, maybe we can talk back. Maybe we can reason with them." Vance shook his head. "No, Lieutenant. Whatever that storm was, it didn't want to talk. It wanted to warn or to threaten." Then the ship's AI core flickered to life. Its voice was calm, but its tone carried something strange, confusion mixed with fear. "Captain, external sensors are detecting objects moving near Saturn's orbit. Multiple signatures. Similar to the one that attacked us." Vance turned to the bridge crew. "How many?" "Hundreds," the AI replied. A low murmur filled the room. Some officers whispered prayers, others simply stared at the floor. Humanity had never faced anything like this. The scale of it was beyond imagination. "Get me Mars Command again," Vance ordered. The communication line crackled, then opened. The image of Commander Reyes appeared, static, breaking through his signal. "Captain Vance, we received your data. Earth Command is evacuating outer colonies. But it's worse than we thought. The same energy readings have been detected near Jupiter, Lunar Base, and the asteroid belt. They're surrounding us." The captain's face hardened. "Then we're at war." Reyes nodded slowly. "A war we might not survive." Before the signal ended, a strange interference flooded the screen. It wasn't static. It was symbols, glowing blue and shifting like liquid. "The same energy as the storm." "Captain," the AI said, "the signal is rewriting itself into our system. It's communicating again." Then came the voice, louder, colder, and angrier than before. "You were warned. The stars belong to us." Every screen went black. The ship's lights died. Only the stars outside remained, trembling, dim, watching. Vance's voice cut through the darkness. "All hands prepare for emergency jump. If we can't win, we'll survive. Humanity will not fall tonight." The engines roared weakly to life. The horizon turned, aiming for the dark side of Mars. The jump drive charged slowly, like a heartbeat fighting to stay alive. As the countdown reached 1, the blue storm reappeared, massive, endless, and closer than before. Its light filled the bridge, and once again, every human aboard felt that ancient presence in their minds. But this time, there was something new. Not just hate, but fear. The storm feared something, too. Something coming. The stars outside flickered wildly, as if warning both sides. And in that moment, Captain Vance understood. Whatever these beings were, they were not alone. Something even greater was moving in the dark. The horizon limped through the darkness, wounded but alive. The jump drive had saved them, barely. Now they floated near the red shadow of Mars, surrounded by silence and wreckage. The stars were dim, like dying candles, and the crew could still feel the echo of that strange voice in their heads. "You were warned. The stars belong to us." Captain Arik Vance stood at the center of the command deck, his face pale under the flickering lights. Around him, the bridge crew worked quietly, their movements slow and heavy. Everyone felt it, the fear that humanity had woken something ancient, something that didn't forgive. Lieutenant Mara Chen broke the silence first. "Sir, Mars Command is calling. They want to speak to you immediately." "Put it through," Vance said. The holographic display flickered and revealed Commander Reyes again, his face lined with exhaustion. Behind him, red warning lights flashed and people rushed across the command center. "Vance," Reyes said sharply, "Earth Command has confirmed multiple enemy fleets entering the solar system. They're targeting everything. Colonies, stations, defense platforms. But there's something new." "What is it?" Vance asked. "They're not attacking randomly. Every strike is near an ancient transmission hub, the same ones we used to send the first deep space signals decades ago." Vance frowned. "They're following our signals. It's like they're tracing our voice across the stars." "Exactly," Reyes replied. "And we think they're trying to silence it. Every trace of humanity's presence erased." Before Vance could reply, the ship's AI interrupted. "Captain, new energy signature detected on Mars's northern pole. It matches the same wavelength as the alien storm." Mara looked up in shock. "They found us?" "No," the AI said. "It's different, smaller, controlled." Vance stepped closer to the screen. "Show me." The image zoomed in on the Martian surface, a faint blue light pulsing from beneath the red dust. It wasn't an attack. It looked like... "A beacon, sir," Mara said slowly. "It's sending a signal. Towards Earth." Vance's heartbeat quickened. "Get me a reading. Decode whatever it's saying." As the system processed the data, strange symbols appeared, but the same glowing patterns seen before. But this time, something was different. The symbols formed into recognizable letters. The computer translated them into English. "Help us." The bridge fell silent. The crew stared at the message in disbelief. "Is this a trick?" one officer asked. Vance shook his head. "No, that's a distress call." "But from who?" Mara whispered. "The aliens?" Before anyone could answer, the signal grew stronger. The beacon's energy pulsed faster, almost like a heartbeat. Suddenly, a wave of light shot into the ship's sensors. Not an attack, but data. "Images, sounds, memories," Mara gasped. "Captain, it's showing us something." The lights dimmed and holographic images filled the bridge. They saw worlds of light, civilizations not human but intelligent and peaceful. Then came war, the same blue storms tearing through their skies. Planets burning, voices screaming in a language no one understood, and then a single word repeated in every image: "The Devourers." The vision faded. The crew sat in stunned silence. "So that's what we're fighting," Vance said quietly. "The storm isn't their army. It's their weapon. The real enemy, and the Devourers consume everything, even light." Mara looked at him. "Then who sent the message?" "The ones who came before," Vance said slowly. "The ones who fought them and lost." Before anyone could react, alarms blared again. The sensors picked up dozens of incoming signals. The enemy was coming, not to destroy but to finish the job. "Multiple contacts approaching fast," the AI warned. "Impact in 60 seconds. Prepare for combat." Vance shouted. "All power to shields. Bring online every weapon we have left." The ship shook as the first wave hit. Blue fire lit up the darkness, and the horizon fought back with everything it had. Laser bursts cut through the void. Missiles exploded in glowing trails, and debris scattered across the stars. But for the first time, something strange happened. The enemy retreated. "They're falling back." Mara cried. "Why?" "We barely hit them!" Vance watched the radar. The storm shapes twisted, pulling away into the dark. Then from behind Mars another light appeared. Golden, not blue. A massive human fleet emerged from hyperspace, Earth's reinforcements. Hundreds of ships, engines burning bright. The Dauntless, the Nova Spear, the Titan's Reach, names that carried hope. Commander Reyes's voice came through the comms. "We heard your call, Vance. The sky fight's back now." Vance smiled grimly. "Then let's show them what humanity really is." The human fleet opened fire in perfect formation. The void exploded in light, gold against blue, life against death. And for the first time since the stars began to tremble, the universe seemed to watch, not in fear, but in awe, because humanity, fragile and small, had refused to kneel. The battle above Mars burned like a second sun. Golden trails of human ships clashed with the blue fire of the Devourers, each blast echoing through the emptiness of space. The horizon, damaged but still alive, floated behind the defense line, feeding coordinates and tactical data to the fleet. For the first time, humanity had fought back and survived. But Captain Arik Vance knew this was only the beginning. The enemy had withdrawn, not because it was defeated, but because it had seen something. It had learned. On the bridge, alarms had finally gone quiet. The air smelled of metal and smoke, and the crew sat slumped in exhaustion. Lieutenant Mara Chen leaned over her console, her eyes still fixed on the decoded alien message that had flashed across the screens earlier. "Help us." "Captain," she said softly, "we've analyzed the signal's energy pattern. It's old, very old, at least 10,000 years older than human civilization." Vance turned toward her, his voice low. "Then that message didn't come from them. It came from something or someone before them." Mara nodded. "And there's more. The beacon on Mars, it wasn't alien technology. It's built from human materials, just advanced versions of our alloys. Someone or something built it using our future designs." The bridge went silent. "The idea was impossible, but the evidence was clear. You're saying—" Vance began slowly. "It came from us?" "From a version of us," she replied. "Maybe from the future. Maybe from another timeline. But it's human." Before Vance could answer, the ship's AI interrupted. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Urgent priority." "Put it through," Vance said. The holographic image of Commander Reyes appeared once more, his face tired but determined. Behind him, Earth's orbit was filled with ships, massive defense carriers preparing for war. "Captain Vance," Reyes began, "we've decoded the rest of the message your crew transmitted. It wasn't just a distress call. It contained coordinates, deep in the Kuiper Belt. Our scientists believe it's a hidden station, possibly a weapon left by the same civilization that sent the warning." Vance's eyes narrowed. "A weapon powerful enough to stop the Devourers?" Reyes nodded grimly. "That's what we hope. We're calling it Project Dawnlight. You're the closest ship capable of reaching it." The captain hesitated. His crew was wounded, his ship broken. But if there was even a chance to save humanity, they had no choice. "Understood, Commander," Vance said. "We'll go. Send us the coordinates." As the link ended, Mara turned to him. "Sir, our ship can't take another fight. We barely survived the last one." "I know," Vance said quietly. "But we go anyway. Because if that weapon exists, it's the only thing standing between us and extinction." The engines hummed weakly to life. The horizon turned away from the burning red planet and began its long journey into the outer dark. Behind them, the human fleet regrouped, preparing for the next wave. Hours passed in silence. The stars grew distant and cold. The further they went, the less light there was. It felt like sailing into the mouth of the universe itself, approaching. "The coordinates," the AI finally announced. A view on the screen changed, revealing something enormous, hidden among the frozen rocks of the Kuiper Belt. It wasn't a station. It was a ship. A colossal vessel buried in ice, black as shadow. It was old, older than Earth, yet somehow human in design. Mara's breath caught. "Captain, that's not alien. It's ours." The ship's surface was marked with faded letters, USS Dawnlight. "But that's impossible," Vance whispered. "No record of such a ship exists." Before they could analyze further, their sensors picked up a new signal, faint, rhythmic, coming from inside the buried ship. "Captain," the AI said, "the signal matches the beacon on Mars." "Play it," Vance ordered. A soft voice filled the bridge, weak but human. "If you are hearing this, we failed. The Devourers cannot be destroyed. They consume reality itself. But there is hope. Buried within this ship is the seed of a weapon. Not to kill them, but to erase their hunger." The message ended with static. "Erase their hunger?" Mara repeated. "What does that mean?" Before anyone could answer, the sensors flared red. A massive energy surge appeared on the radar, dozens of Devourer storms closing in fast. "They found us," the AI warned. Vance's jaw tightened. "They know what we're after." The lights dimmed as the engines roared. The captain turned to his crew. "Prepare boarding teams. We're going into that ship. Whatever this weapon is, we find it, or humanity ends here." As the horizon descended toward the black ship hidden in ice, The stars above flickered violently. It was as if the universe itself was afraid of what humanity might uncover next. The horizon moved slowly through the dark field of frozen rocks, its damaged engines whispering through the silence. Ahead, the black ship lay buried in layers of ancient ice, massive, still, and watching. It felt less like a machine and more like a tomb. Captain Arik Vance stood near the observation window, his reflection faint in the glass. "Hard to believe that thing's human," he murmured. "It looks ancient." Lieutenant Mara Chen joined him, eyes locked on the distant shape. "If it really is the USS Dawnlight, then someone built it thousands of years before we even dreamed of leaving Earth. Or maybe, after everything we know is gone." The words hung heavy in the air. Time felt meaningless here. "Launch the boarding team," Vance ordered quietly. "We're running out of time." The Devourers won't wait. The shuttle detached from the horizon and descended toward the icy surface. As it landed near the massive black hull, clouds of frozen dust swirled in the low gravity. The air shimmered faintly with strange blue light, the same energy that had burned through space during the earlier battles. "Commander Hale." "Report," Vance said through the comm. The voice of the boarding team leader crackled through static. "We've reached the main hull, Captain. The surface is warm, not from heat, from energy. It's like the ship's alive." "Proceed carefully," Vance replied. The team began cutting through the ice, revealing smooth, dark metal beneath. Symbols glowed faintly as they melted the layers away. Not alien, but human letters, ancient and half-faded. One of them read, "For the survival of light." Inside the hull, the corridors were wide and silent. Strange cables pulsed softly under the floor, like veins carrying light instead of blood. The air was still and cold, but the ship hummed. "Slow, steady, alive, Captain," Hale said, his voice hushed. "This ship's power core is still active after who knows how many years. And the systems, and they recognize us. It's like it knows we're human." On the horizon, Vance exchanged a tense glance with Mara. "Try to access the logs. See what this ship was built for." Minutes passed before the reply came. "We found something, sir. A terminal still functioning. It's showing a series of recorded messages. Play them," Vance ordered. The main screen on the horizon flickered to life. A man appeared, his uniform tattered, eyes hollow with exhaustion. Behind him, the walls looked identical to the ship they were now exploring. His voice trembled as he spoke. "My name is Captain Elias Ward, commanding officer of the USS Dawnlight. If anyone finds this, you are our descendants. We built this ship as a last hope. The Devourers are not from outside our universe. They're born from within it. Energy turned against itself, consuming everything to survive. We created the Dawnlight to stop them. But we were too late." The man paused, eyes distant. "The weapon we built doesn't destroy them. It changes them. It feeds on their hunger, turns it inward until they devour themselves. But activating it requires a living host, one connected to human consciousness, one willing to sacrifice everything." The recording ended. The bridge was silent. Mara's voice was barely a whisper. "A living host. That means someone has to merge with the weapon." Vance nodded slowly. "And that someone has to be human." Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. The radar lit up. Hundreds of Devourer signatures closing in fast. The stars outside flashed blue like waves of fire approaching through the void. "Captain!" the AI shouted. "They found us! Recall the boarding team now," Vance ordered. But before the team could respond, the communication filled with static, then screams. The ice shook violently as blue light erupted from the horizon, tearing through the darkness. One by one, the life signals of the boarding team vanished. "Captain," Mara said, her voice breaking, "we're losing them." The last transmission came through, Commander Hale's voice faint and broken. "Sir, the core, it's waking up. Something's inside the ship. It's—" The signal cut off. For a long moment no one spoke. Only the sound of the engines filled the air. Then from the ice-covered ship, a new light began to glow, golden, bright and powerful. It pulsed in rhythm with a heartbeat. "The Dawnlight's power core is online," the AI reported, "but the energy signature is unstable. It's activating itself." Mara looked at Vance. "Captain, if that weapon activates without control, it could destroy everything," he finished. He turned toward the window, staring at the golden light spreading beneath the ice. "Prepare a landing team. I'm going down there myself." "Sir, that's suicide," Mara protested. Vance's eyes were calm, steady. Maybe. But if what that message said is true, the weapon needs someone to guide it. And if no one does, the Devourers will consume every world we've ever known. He walked toward the airlock, his voice low but firm. Humanity was built on sacrifice. Let's make sure it means something. As he entered the shuttle, the stars outside began to flicker violently, blue and gold colliding across the heavens. The storm was coming, and at its center the dawnlight's golden glow grew brighter and brighter, and for the first time the darkness seemed to hesitate. The horizon hovered above the black ship, its hull shaking under the rising energy storm. Below, the USS Dawnlight burned through the ice like a sun being reborn. Golden light cut across the red dust and frozen shadows, fighting against the flood of blue fire that filled the sky. The Devourers had come, endless, furious, beautiful in their destruction. Captain Arik Vance stood inside the shuttle, the world shaking around him. The controls blinked red, the radio screamed static, but his voice remained steady. "Lieutenant Chen, you have command of the horizon. If I don't come back, sir, no." Mara's voice cracked through the comm. "You can't go down there alone. We'll find another way." "There isn't another way," Vance said quietly. "You heard the message. The weapon needs a living host. The Devourers won't stop unless someone gives it a mind, a choice." He paused, his gaze drifting toward the golden light rising through the storm. "If this is humanity's last stand, then someone has to make sure we're remembered for fighting, not for running." Without waiting for another word, he ended the transmission. The shuttle plunged into the storm. The closer he got, the stronger the light became, waves of gold clashing with the blue fire of the enemy. The Devourers surrounded the Dawnlight, twisting and roaring, their forms made of pure energy. They struck at the old ship again and again, but every blow melted harmlessly into the light. Vance landed near the core entrance, stepping out into the wind. The ground beneath him hummed with power. Every breath burned his lungs, but he kept walking. Inside, the ship pulsed like a living heart. Golden streams of energy flowed through the walls, whispering like voices, ancient and human. As he reached the central chamber, he saw it, a sphere of light floating above a dark platform. Inside it, shadows moved like memories. The weapon, the heart of Dawnlight. Captain Vance, the ship's AI, spoke through his wrist link, voice flickering with static. "Energy readings are beyond known limits. If you activate the weapon manually, your biological form will not survive." "I know," Vance said softly. "But humanity will." He placed his hand on the control interface. The sphere flared, and in that moment, his mind filled with visions. Worlds burning, ships dying, stars collapsing. The Devourers feeding on everything. And then, silence, he saw something else. Not destruction, but creation. A pulse of light spreading outward, transforming the hunger into harmony. Energy returning to balance. Life continuing, a voice echoed inside his head. The same one from the ancient message. To save the light, one must become it. Vance took a deep breath. "Then let there be light." The sphere expanded, swallowing the chamber in gold. The horizon orbiting above saw the glow burst through the ice, brighter than 1,000 suns. The Devourers screamed, their forms twisting in chaos. But instead of dying, they began to change. Their blue light turned pale, then soft, until it shimmered like morning sunlight. On the bridge of the horizon, Mara covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. "He did it," she whispered. The sensors flickered wildly. "Energy levels stabilizing," the AI reported. "The Devourer entities are dissipating. Their energy signatures are merging with the Dawnlight's field. It's cleansing them." Outside, the darkness faded. The stars stopped trembling. One by one, the storms vanished, replaced by calm. The void that had once been cold and silent now glowed faintly with golden dust. The ashes of war turned to light. But inside the ship, there was no sign of Captain Vance. Only the sphere remained, pulsing softly, like a heartbeat still echoing through eternity. Mara's voice cracked through the comm. "Captain, do you read? Please respond." No reply came. Only a calm whisper, faint but clear. "Keep the light alive." Then the signal faded. The horizon watched as the Dawnlight slowly sank back into the ice, its glow dimming until only the stars remained. Humanity had won, but at a cost no one could measure. Weeks later, from orbit, Earth sent its final broadcast across the recovering sky. The message was simple, a promise carried on a beam of golden light. We are the children of the dawnlight. We remember the darkness, but we do not fear it, because wherever humanity walks, even the stars will learn to shine again. And in the depths of space far beyond human eyes, a faint golden glow flickered, like a heartbeat in the dark. Some said it was just energy left behind. Others believed it was something more, a guardian, a man who became light, a reminder that when humanity fights, even the stars themselves tremble, not in fear but in awe.